Hello, listeners. Thanks for tuning in again this week. I'm excited for today's guest, as I am with most guests, but particularly this one because we've spoken before. She was on previous podcasts that Kim and I had done, and yes, knowledgeable about things that are super important to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, Missy.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Have you cooled down after the shoot?
Yeah, I have. It's like actually kind of cold in here, but that's okay.
I thought I had fucking heat stroke for a second. I was like, God, I'm going to lose it. Let's just, for those who haven't heard you speak before, I kind of want to give folks a recap of like how we know each other. Yeah. I think there was like something photo related. And then and I was like, hey, did I know you? And you're like, no, but, and then found out that you were in LADC and I was like, oh, this is fucking perfect.
Yeah, actually what happened is I saw somebody that I knew that you'd interviewed and I added you.
Oh.
That's what happened. I was like, this dude seems cool. And that's what happened.
This dude gives off serious dad vibes. I am protector. Okay. And actually that's kind of ironic because it gives even more credence to me being a dad is like, actually, old man, you don't remember it quite correctly. So,
oh my God.
So wait. Who was it that I had interviewed that you knew?
It was Miranda.
It was Miranda.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was the first connection.
Yeah. I listened to it and then I added you. And I think like a month later you messaged me because you accepted it, obviously. And I was
accept you.
I'm just gonna follow this guy and creep on his stuff on occasion and see what happens.
Got cute kids, got cute dogs.
I mean,
wife is hot. She may be bisexual. We're not sure.
See, perfect. It's all perfect. And now you have like a cute little kitty. It's just like perfection. And
Sushi, Manushi. She's the only animal that hasn't made an appearance on any of my podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you gotta change that.
I gotta change that. She's hilarious. Like letting her run around in here.
She's so cute.
But so yeah, the fantastic part of you being knowledgeable about the addiction world. But yeah, so to give like a little bit of that backstory of how you got into drug addiction counseling and what made you want to do that.
So originally I went to school and like a lot of people, I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. So I did my associates. And then I just felt like pulled to like the psychology piece of it. And then I also have many people that I know struggle with addiction. And I kind of went to a university and I was going to go for psychology, but I wanted to kind of incorporate addiction studies. And they're like, well, why don't you just, get your LADC and do this and then continue on later, which actually worked out better, but I didn't know that, obviously. And so I'm happy I had an advisor, and that's kind of how I got into it.
With the addiction that you had seen in the past, did you recognize it as, I mean, people don't like calling it a disease, but like that whole disease of choice thing, did it seem like something that was out of their control to you, or did you view them as like fucking addicts?
So the younger individual, I definitely saw it as that's your choice because, I'm with my friends, I'm gonna, smoke some weed, and it just kind of progressed. But they were so young that not everybody falls into that. It started to become a problem with like selling and getting in trouble, and then it just kind of progressed as they grew up, and then it was like, this is obviously an issue. I mean, he's being court ordered to go to treatment and things. The other individuals, they were older and it had already been like established. And I watched them relapse is what happened. And I was young, younger than I am now, obviously. So I didn't know kind of what was going on. I got to see a crash course, what it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's sad, ugly, I would say, because they were all like very like personal relationships, and I had to cut them off, like, just for me, which, on their account they think it sounds selfish, but
Yeah.
Gotta do what's right for you as well and your well-being too.
Yeah. I it's such it's a conversation that Kim and I have a lot, which is the fact of like, when is it okay to step back, and how long do you stick it out for? Because in her viewpoints on it is like, if she had given up on me, then where would we be at? And so it's like a touchy subject, because I have the viewpoint of like, if she had what I know now, I wouldn't have faulted her for it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to say that and have her understand, because it sounds like, fucking leave me, do what you gotta do. But at the same time, like, there are individuals who, if you're their like only support group, like if it's a support group of one, then you're gonna fucking get drugged down. And
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like especially with the ones that were that they were older and I had a relationship with them. That's how it was. Is what happened was, I didn't know that they were using. They had said that they had an issue, but that, you know, that's not a thing anymore, and I didn't know a whole lot about it at the time, and it turned out they were using the entire time. But that was like their baseline, so they didn't act any different until they didn't have it. And it just got worse, and it turned into like an abusive type of thing. So I mean, it was just, you know, it was kind of like, I gotta no.
Yeah, and I mean, props to being able to do that. I mean, because like I said, from Kim's perspective, like, you never give up, but at the same time, that's always gonna have that little umbilical cord tied to your mental health, and if somebody pulls on that, you're, you know, I don't know if I would say your nervous system, but like, yeah, actually, because you can have a physical reaction to it. But you that anxiety of like, what is it going to be this time? Are we just talking, or are you about to tell me that you're in jail right now? Like, I don't know. So there's all of these factors, and I've watched friends go through that, where I've actually even watched Kim go through that, where, you know, individuals that she's been attached to for a long time, and she tried to establish better boundaries and was like saying, you know, I'm going to step back and I'm not going to be as involved. And then 2 weeks went by, and she got a call that like reaffirmed, unfortunately, that this is why I have to stay. This is why I have to be a part of the thing. And it's like, God damn it.
Right.
It's more, if anything, it should shine a light on the fact that that individual has zero support group and needs to focus on creating that network, whether it's on a professional level or friends or family or whatever. Like, they need more than just you.
Well, and it's kind of like, you have to want it. And there's a lot of manipulation and things that go on if you're in a relationship with somebody that struggles with that, because, you know, they do cling to you. And they'll do whatever they can do to get you to stay.
Yeah.
Which is just like kind of part of it.
Yeah.
I
That's
think.
why I bought that dick dragon, is I want
I was looking at that. I was just like, oh my goodness.
I always point to him for levity, just to make sure people don't get too sad. For the listeners and people who don't watch, just tune into one episode and he'll make an appearance. I haven't given him a name, actually.
You need to name it.
What would be a good name for a dick dragon?
I don't know.
Cockamus? No.
Like Cockasaurus? I don't know.
Cockasaurus.
I don't know.
Phallus the Great.
Oh my god, I like that one. Phallus the Great.
Phallus the Great, because then he has magical powers and maybe helps a wizard. Anyways. But yeah, I mean, when I talk about this stuff, like, my brain goes into 50 different places, because I think of like the history of whether I was the one that was manipulating people or people that were manipulating me. Like, it's gone both ways so many times. And before I realized that I had codependency issues, like, I didn't fully grasp why that shit was going on.
Yeah.
So the other aspect of it, like when you were talking about they have to want it, I find that like a lot of addicts don't even know how to want. You know what I mean? So it's like trying to find, how do you get to a point to where you want to want help?
Which makes sense. It's just with my experience with this person, you know, I had watched them go through treatment already, and I did stick it out with that.
Mm.
And I couldn't. You know,
Well,
I just couldn't. I didn't have any ties. I wasn't married. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a child. Not that I'm saying that those make it so you have to be with them, but obviously it complicates things if you do have those.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you have to. Do I want my child to know the true nature of this individual, or do I want to get them as far away from the situation? Yeah, that's a huge issue for sure.
Right.
Even if you're just married, like there's, I mean, societal consequence, right? People are constantly asking you, how's Todd? Well, Todd is in prison still.
Yeah.
So.
Like, how do you, I mean, and I think that when people say, well, how is so-and-so, or how are you? We're so programmed as a society to be like, oh, I'm well. Or, you know, I'm good, I'm doing good, even though that's just a lie.
Oh, that you were going to say grammatically incorrect.
Yeah. Well, good. Whichever word you want to use. I'm not a grammar Nazi.
But no, that's so interesting you say that. I literally yesterday just started listening to this guy. Fuck, I'm going to forget, but I'll pop up a link in the description. It's a one-person episode of this podcast. He's talking about mental health, and that specific situation when somebody asks you how you're doing, and you go, yeah, fine. They're just well, good.
Right. Well, good.
It's good. Well, I feel like I'm in a well and I'm drowning, but I'm good.
Yeah, I'm still breathing. It's fine.
But no, like that wired response of like it has to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day this guy asked him, you know, how are you doing? And he was like, oh, I'm good. And he goes, you didn't even think about it. I want you to think about it. How are you doing? And he was like, oh, fuck, I don't know, actually. And like had to think about it. And he was like, actually, no, I'm not doing that good.
Well, and it's kind of like those words are all, none of those words are emotion based.
Wow. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, that oatmeal is good. Oh, that's fantastic. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's not emotion based. I've done like a group with patients actually in the past that we talked about that. Just you're so programmed. We're all programmed to say all positive things. So it's kind of like, well, then when there's something wrong and they're like, well, I thought you were doing so good.
Yeah.
You know, it's so, you know, in the mornings people would ask me like, how are you? And be like, oh, I'm a little stressed out actually, but thank you. Like we'll get through it. It's fine. Like keep going. Like I try to kind of respond like that, unless it's like, you know, the cashier at Target. That's a little different. But you know, people that see me pretty frequently, I try to be genuine, but
yeah, my friend Alex, well, my best friend.
Oh.
That's who is embracing me in that photo down there behind the pear.
Behind the pear. This pear?
Yeah. You look towards the wall.
Oh, yeah.
He's embracing me. Live on stage.
That's cute.
But him and his friends will say, how you sleeping? And it's like, wow. What a good...
I like that.
That's a genius way of... Because if you're having shitty sleep, you're going to say why it's shitty. So like, I haven't been getting sleep because... And then, it opens up to that emotional response, which is... That's really... I had never thought of it in that phrasing, like good and well are not really emotional responses.
No. It's like oatmeal.
Yeah.
How's your oatmeal?
It is like oatmeal.
Yeah! yeah, you like that? For real, I feel like I'm gonna use that. How you sleeping?
How you sleeping?
And see what people say. I'll get back to you on that.
It's funny because we used to open like every episode with that on the other podcast, and it's funny like because I was making a compilation of like funniest moments or whatever, and how frequently all of us were like terrible. If somebody was sleeping good, it was a rarity. So somebody would be like, I'm actually sleeping good now.
Well, did you sleep really good last night, or that was the crash? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna like, for me anyway, I mean, it's just typical thing that I don't sleep well.
Yeah.
I'm a cat, basically. I sleep better during the day, but.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but usually if I'm not sleeping very well, and then the crash will happen. And then I'm going to sleep really well that night, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm so tired.
Do you find that your dreams are like extra crazy on those nights?
They're like pretty vivid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Because my body's like, trap them in a mental fucking cinema world because we're going to recharge everything. So keep them in there.
As long as they're good dreams, like positive ones. If they're like stressful and just anxiety provoking, then I wake up even more tired.
Yeah.
That's not fun either.
You want to redo. It's like when you eat something that didn't taste that good. You're like, I'm full, I guess, but I want something that doesn't taste like shit.
Yeah, this isn't satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of things not being satisfying, when it comes to so you're going to school for something that seems like it's going to be really rewarding.
Yeah.
And as with everybody's all doughy-eyed and like, I'm going to change the world. And then you go out and there's a 60-year-old woman who says, hey, room 2 just shit himself. Also, we're out of Narcan. Also, and you're just like, fuck.
Yeah. That's a vibe, actually. Yeah, 100%. I think that my biggest pet peeve of when I tell them like what I do is like, oh my God, that must be so rewarding. And I want to be like, bitch, no. Like, I mean,
we have a 5% success rate. It is not rewarding at all.
Also, the disclaimer, I swear a lot, you guys, so it's fine.
I mean, we was just talking about the
penis.
Phallus the Great.
Yeah, Phallus the Great. I know. But, no, it's so true, though. I get a little irritated, like a little eye twitch happening when I hear that statement, because it's just kind of like, if you knew what it actually looked like on the inside, you wouldn't think that. Just because it's, I don't even know how to like break this down, but it's like when somebody says like, oh, this is what I do, I work with people who struggle with addiction. And on the outside, like looking in, that seems really, admirable and just superhero, right? That's what it kind of looks like. But I mean, once it's not what it looks like.
It's like modeling and photography. Like people would often say like, so like you just get to have fun for your work. And it's like, I mean, there's aspects that are fun, but that's with any job.
Yeah.
Like you can find a fun vein in accounting, I'm sure. Sure there's some math jokes that just fucking kill. But hey, you guys 7, 8, 9. But like it's, especially when I was doing weddings, it's like, you don't understand. It's like 14 hours of just burning all the calories, eating like just a dinner roll or what, like there's so much fucking work that goes into it, and people don't see that because they see the product, right? And so with addiction, their thought is, oh, you get to save someone's life. And it's like, man, it's so depressing when I tell people like how often relapse happens. And I'm constantly am like, I'm lucky. I'm doing good, but like shit could change at any moment. Like
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what they think. You save people. No, they save themselves. Just give them some tools and,
Yeah. Well, I suppose like
you
they're
know.
not writing letters back and being like, "Hey, you specifically helped me through whatever." Like
Right.
most of the time they're out and they want to forget about all of that shit. Like
Yeah.
I can't even
Exactly.
remember the name of the wing that I was on in Hazelden anymore. And that was only coming up on 3 years now. It's also crazy to think, but um
Because you have like 900 days, right?
yeah, I hit 900, which is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I also look at that number and I think like because there's so much weight in I just met a lady who hit 3 months and I was like, that's fucking awesome. And she's like, it's only, it's 90 days. It's like was trying to downplay it. And I was like, dude, any day that you're sober, that's a good fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't check my sober thing that much because I don't want to tie like my overall success to that number.
Right.
Like being just being able to be sober and not, completely spiral out of control. That's all that we're looking for. So the number of days doesn't matter. If you drank one night, went out of control, and then you woke up the next morning and you're like super resentful and, just ashamed of your entire life, like I wish that people could see it as just a slip up, which is really good that people in your profession do, like coming up with different words rather than full on relapse.
Right.
I think that's super, super important. Because then if somebody relapses, they go, well, fuck it. I bent and now what's the point in.
Right. Like I lost all that time.
Yeah.
Is basically what they think. And but same thing is, oh, I've only been sober 15, whatever. They'll say. And it's like,
Could
well,
you grab this guy?
Go.
Yeah, there you go.
Better?
Yeah.
Perfect. No, but people say like, oh, I've only been sober 13 days. And like you said, downplay it. It's just like, well, that's 13 days that you didn't have 13 days ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it just takes time.
Yeah.
You'll get years eventually, right? That's the goal. And they were more accepting of that. Like everybody started with one day.
Yes.
So
also that thing about the camel with the knees and the water. I don't know. It's an AA thing.
What? I'm gonna have to look this up now.
Fuck. What is it? It ties to God, so I'm not like a huge fan of it, but it's like I'm like the camel who goes down to its knees twice a day, once for water, and I don't know. But yeah, so like the concept being like you only need the one to fulfill yourself. So like you don't need, your whole life doesn't need to be this fantastical thing. Like people don't realize like the biggest part of sobriety is the fact that you get to be bored again. Like they forget that life is boring. A lot of life is pretty boring. Like you go home, there's nothing going on. And most of the time though, we were like, I don't have anything to do, so I'm going to drink, or I don't have anything to do, so I'm going to do this. Like that we would fill our time with
that.
Yeah, with substance. And when they don't have anything going on, they get like,
that's like the number one thing I hear is boredom. When they're bored, I'm like, well, I mean, you're going to have to figure out like something to fill that with, because otherwise you're going to go right back to it.
Or don't. Just, you get what I'm saying? Like, you're not always going to have something to do.
Well, I mean, right. But I mean, I don't know how other people view it. I get bored.
Yeah. And you should.
But this up here, this isn't bored. It's going constant. So
I see what you're saying.
I don't get sucked in, but it's constantly going. If I'm at home and I'm like, wow, it's really boring here, but I have cats, I'm going to turn on like the television and go do something. Most of the time I'm home alone a lot.
Nuh-uh, there's a 300-pound bodyguard that lives with you.
I know, right? I know. He protects me from the children. Just kidding. No, but like I'll turn the TV on sometimes just so it doesn't feel like I'm alone.
Yeah. I get what you're saying now. So they fill time in the sense that, like, rather than ruminating in the fact that they're bored. I get, yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess my version is saying, like, once you accept that boredom is a part of life, then you can look at other things and be like, oh, just fucking take a nap, dude. I've got shit going on.
Oh, naps.
Naps are the best.
I just had this conversation yesterday, actually, with someone, and, you know, they're just like, same shit, day in, day out. It's boring. And I'm like, that's true, 100%. However, if it wasn't like that, you wouldn't enjoy, like, vacations or fun days off as much, because that's what your day is, and therefore you would be bored by those things now.
Well, another thing that people I don't hear enough is, like, when I was, like, drinking as much as I was, if somebody called me and was like, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to go do something? I'd have to make up some excuse as to why I can't because I'm drunk. But now, if somebody called me up and wanted to do something, or like, so the fact that you can leave whenever you want and not be afraid that you're under the influence and could get, you know, in trouble for getting behind the wheel.
Right.
Like, that's a huge thing. And so I feel like that opens up the world, because that whole being boxed in and that boredom is like, but if I wanted to, I could just go do whatever right now.
Right. I mean,
go play mini golf.
And you wouldn't be, like, ashamed of seeing somebody if they saw you.
Yeah. And
right?
when you're screaming and cursing and someone's like, oh, dude's drunk, you're like, no, 900 days sober. I just fucking hate this hole. And then they just think you're an asshole. And they just accept it. Sometimes you're an asshole.
I mean,
I'm an asshole is what I'm trying to say.
It happens sometimes, you know? I mean, you're an asshole. Everybody's got an asshole, I guess. So
yeah.
It works out. It works out.
No asshole shaming here. But yeah, you're right in the sense of, like, got to stop thinking that the boredom equates to you having nothing.
I mean, that's why it's really healthy. You know, I don't do this enough myself, but to just be thankful for, like, what you've got. If you name 3 things in the morning that you're thankful for, usually your day is a little bit better.
Do you like out loud say that?
Sometimes if I'm struggling to, like, fight through, like, I don't want to say the voices because that's not it, but, like, the negative self-talk, I will say it out loud. Most of the time I can just say it mentally. A lot of times it's on, like, when I'm in the car, actually, because I mean, I have no distractions other than, like, I'm just looking forward and I'm driving wherever it is I'm supposed to be going. You know,
it's funny you have no distractions, but you should have lots of distractions because you're driving.
I mean, I don't know. Haven't you ever, like, gotten in your car and you can't remember how you got there?
Yeah, that's bad.
No, it's not, because, like, it's not. So, I mean, if you're not actually paying attention, but I mean, sometimes you just, like, kind of daydream and think about stuff, but you're still, like, paying attention.
You go into robot mode. Yeah,
yeah, you get it. Like,
it's weird.
Like, right, I know. It's kind of, like, scary a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for people who have anxiety, like, Alex and I have talked about this where we're like, what the fuck just happened?
How did I get here?
Did I run someone over? I have no idea. There was a sign that said bump, but maybe there was somebody.
Oh my God.
But, so I've heard that the actual vocalizing of things can change something physiologically.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Physiologically?
Like, yeah, mentally and stuff. Yeah.
It can have a change. I just started doing it for, like, little kiddos that come to get piercings, and they'll say scared. I'm scared. And I say, can you try saying I'm brave? Even if you're not, just try to say I'm brave. And I'm brave.
And then they fight through it.
Yeah. And then Rage Against the Machine comes on and they're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, no, I had a group kind of about that too. Positive self-talk. It's we talked about like negative oh my gosh. Words, Missy.
Like the negative.
So, like,
speak?
Initial like negative thought. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like I'm gonna just an example is it's a really basic one, but I'm really terrible at math, so I'm stupid.
Mm,
So and then like switching that to no, I'm not stupid. I just learn different, you know.
mhm.
Just being able to switch it and it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
It gets easier, but I mean I get stuck sometimes even, it can be difficult.
Yeah. When it comes to the mental health side of things, because did you study psych stuff while in school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the psychology aspect of mental health or of addiction, I feel like is one of the like most understated or underappreciated facets to recovery. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So like with all of these things, the negative self-talk, if it's frequent, someone might not know that they have dysthymia, where it's just your baseline is some type of depression. And so
Mhm.
you're just constantly disappointed in yourself. And sometimes that gets worse. And so, like, with that low success rate, um, I feel like the big missing component is the fact that nobody really wants to confront their trauma or what certain actions that they did, what those really mean.
Yeah.
Like they think that I did this because I was under the influence. That can be true, certainly. But on top of that, what hit you in the way that you thought I'm going to punch the window out in this car? Like what about substance activates this aggravated part of you? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, I don't think I've ever met anybody that doesn't have a mental health issue, um, that is an addict.
yeah.
Um, so I
Now, are
if
you saying in what you recognize or they vocalize?
so I can't diagnose or anything, but you can
But
see it.
that's like Kim and I. We're like, we don't
Mm,
diagnose, but that person is on the spectrum for sure.
for sure.
And we're going to work our way in because people are talking to them in a way that's not respecting the fact that they're overstimulated right now.
But it's true. So like they might be like, no, I don't have any mental health and deny everything, and you can't do a whole lot if they don't want the help.
Right.
But if you can just sometimes see it,
Yeah.
in behavior, and it will get more noticeable the longer you're sober, because it's no longer like is this psychosis? Is this like a mental health condition
Mm-hmm.
that should be treated? But kind of like they have to want that as well.
Yeah.
So not only do they have to want help in, getting sober, but they have to want the mental health piece of it because without that, they're gonna go back.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't.
Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
I don't think so.
The funny way of describing it is stupid people lack the capacity to recognize that they're stupid. That's like there was a writer that had written that. But the concept being, if you're too deep into a thing, you don't recognize what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who are were in Scientology for 20 years, and their motivation is it's all in this bubble.
Yeah.
So they can't
They
hear.
can't see outside
So
the
like,
bubble.
unless somebody comes and says, "Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but when this happens, you seem to, kind of be shut off or whatever," right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not even thinking about it. They don't even realize the things that are happening. Like my uncle has massive social anxiety, and his thing is always like, there's just always something going on where he doesn't need to be wherever we're going. You know what I mean?
So like, does he not recognize that he's got anxiety?
No, has no idea.
Okay.
And
That's really interesting.
you know what I mean? So
I do because like I didn't know I had anxiety.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When did you finally figure it out?
I went to therapy because I was like, well, I'm out
Do you
of.
remember how old you were?
Yeah, I was 21.
Okay.
I started therapy pretty early.
Hmm.
Which is odd because most people are like, oh, it'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
Which I recognized pretty quickly wasn't the case, thankfully.
Good for
But
you.
no, I went in and it was just like, you know, word vomited, like all these things, and they diagnose you and things, and I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was
Oh.
younger, but I think that I probably still have that, but it's really anxiety and ADHD look the same.
Yeah, for sure.
And they do, especially in children.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, and like I started to kind of think about it. I was like, actually, they might be right because I would think back to this specific time where I would get really anxious. Like, so let's say the bus comes at like 8:05,
Mm.
and it's like 8 o'clock. Okay, I haven't left the house yet to go make it onto the bus. My stomach would hurt. Like I'd feel really nauseous, or like I had to
Wow.
go to the bathroom, and I was like, she's like, yeah, that's anxiety. And I didn't like, they don't talk about that in school. Like, I
Right.
didn't know. Like, so I think it's really common.
Yeah, it's weird the way like there's all of these things that like there's a fad of it's popular in the news to talk about mental health. So it's perceived as like we've got now okay guys, it was in the news for a month, so we've got it under control. And it's like they have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
No.
First of all, second, the thing that they're purporting is like I mean, they're what they think they're talking about is someone gets so sad that they want to commit suicide. And we met a guy who almost did it, but didn't. And now he wrote a book, and we're so excited to have him. Please welcome Jake Gyllenhaal. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I know. And that's like really irritating.
It's like you guys don't understand the nuance of how many diagnoses are like a potential, what America's baseline seems to be. Because what is it? A fifth of American adults are on some type of prescription.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. And every 11 minutes, a suicide is attempted in the United States.
Yeah.
And ADHD looks different in everyone. And anxiety looks different in everyone. Like it's not like getting cancer. And so everybody can be like, my aunt had cancer and ba 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 ba.
Right.
Like,
it's not like something you can see.
Yeah. Well, and even if you have an example in your life, doesn't mean that the next person is going to have the same rituals to try to combat their anxiety. Even if they don't realize that they have it, whatever things that they do to try to feel better about it is going to look different in every person.
Right. And it looks so different. Like high functioning anxiety. Like, oh my gosh. Hello, that's me. High functioning is just you appear like really bubbly, which I mean that's my personality type anyway, but it just kind of increases it. I know a lot of high functioning anxious people.
Yeah.
So, it's like perfectionism and all of those types of things. I would say it's definitely like the people that when they find out if people find out like something's wrong, like you're, just maybe get a breakdown, like for real.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, she's, they seem so happy.
My anxiety is tied really tightly to my codependency stuff.
Okay.
It's all like the perception of if I make a mistake to somebody that I care about or somebody that had high hopes for a thing, then it sticks with me for life because it's not just that a mistake was made. I did it. I'm the one that did it. No way. I care way too much about this person. How could I have let that happen? Like it's no good.
So you like turn it inward.
Oh yeah. It will fuck me up for the rest of the day for sure. And then if I'm caught in a dumb lie that like I thought was going to help, I'm like, I don't know how to explain to you. Like I did this because I want you to feel better. And the fact so everything is like, I'm the only one that's going to be able to help you because I have white knight syndrome. And then when I can't do it, I'm like, I gave them all the hopes and the dreams. And now, oh my God. So yeah, anxiety with, now it's like small interactions with people. If I, like, actually, this is the perfect example. I used to work at a cell phone store. And that same year, my friend's dad passed away. And we were friends, but like, we weren't super close. But I drove 2 hours to go to his dad's funeral.
Yeah.
And just to make sure, like, dude, I know we're not super close, but this is, I can't imagine what you're feeling. So I'm showing up. He knew that I worked with phones and they were trying to do something with their dad's phone. And he came to me and was like, do you know how to do the XYZ? And I hadn't learned it at that point.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, dude, took the phone and started to monkey with it. And I was like, fuck, none of this shit is working. And then somebody else came in and was like, oh, I know how to do it. And them taking the phone from me to do the thing, I was like, oh my God, I just let this person down for life. Like, this
you felt like a failure.
Hugely felt like a failure, even though there's no way that they remember that. You know what I mean? Like, so little interactions like that, it literally feels like I'm being compressed. Like,
not a good feeling at all.
Not a good feeling.
No.
So yeah. So, and some people with anxiety, like I keep bringing it back to my boyfriend, Alex.
Cute.
Sometimes people feel like they have to appear to be in control because internally they feel wildly out of control.
Yeah.
So they'll have like these strong stances on conversations and you're like, there's no way you actually give a shit about what we're talking about right now, especially not this much.
Right.
You're way too invested right now. So yeah, anxiety can look totally different, affect people totally differently. So when somebody comes up and says, if you ever need help, just text me or call me. And it's like, when I am fucking feeling this, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to anybody.
I just want to go watch America's Got Talent compilations and cry for 9 hours.
Oh my God, that's such a vibe. It really is. But that's the truth though, because it's like, oh, that's so sweet. But I've had people say that, like, if you need anything, feel free to reach out and whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, thanks. Even though I think they're just saying that to be nice.
Yeah.
Even though I've said it and I mean it.
Have you ever gone to somebody who said that?
No. No, I haven't.
There's a comedian that does a bit about this where they're like, the person who says that is never who you want to fucking go to. Most of the time you're like, thank you. Never with you.
Like, oh, well, that's a really nice thought. Thanks so much. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I had a conversation with somebody about how weird it is that, like, if a friend passes away or if some, like, kind of tragic thing happens in your life, I don't go to my parents. I don't go to family members for that stuff. I go to some friend who I'm really close with instead of somebody else.
Yeah.
And like how common that is, it should give like a good perspective on why when you say, if you need anything, text, call, whatever, why we're not going to you. We have a person usually, or if we don't, and we're just sad fucks. But most of the time, there's a person that we really want to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like a really close individual. Like somebody, like a best friend.
Yeah. Or somebody you've like trauma bonded with and the experience, you're like, no one gets this but this person. And I know that if I text them, they're going to be like, some fucked up shit, huh? Like I have,
right, like they're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have suicide buddies, which is heavy to say.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of friends where it's like when you're feeling suicidal, they're the only ones that really get it without, because you get to a point to where I know me currently, I'm not in any danger.
Right.
But I need to talk about this and not think that person's going to call or they're going to drive over to my house and be like, what's going on? What do we need to do? And like try to make life altering changes. I call this person. It's like a war buddy. Like,
Yeah.
we've been through this fucked up thing. And like, do you remember when yada, yada? And yeah.
I mean, I get that. I mean, this is a really long, like, middle school for me, but when you say, suicide buddy, I mean, I used to self-injure, um, and I had a friend that found out that they also did it, and then we bonded over that. Like, it later on, and we weren't actually like close friends, but that was the bond, is that we both did this, and we both came from, um, we'll just say like broken homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I get what you're saying, because if something was showing, they would be like, "Hey, cover it up," you know.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want the guidance counselor. Good God, that's like the devil in school. Like, so tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand kind of what you're saying with that. I've had some in my adult life, but I don't talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
I have a therapist for that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say if that's your only person that you go to, and like, rather than trying to improve yourself, especially if that bounce board, if you're just rubber banding shit off of each other and it's the same shit, but you don't want to change anything.
Yeah.
There's zero results or zero,
like improvements.
Yeah. Yes.
Like growth.
There's no, oh my God, I'm spacing on a.
Like, I think I know what you're saying.
Oh,
like,
there's no desire to change anything. You just want to do this so that you don't feel as fucked up because there's another person that knows the thing.
Well, right, because they kind of validate, like, well, I feel like that too.
Validate. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just want the validation of these two scenarios rather than so. A like thing that was really hard for me because of codependency, I would let people just do that, and I would say my things. I horrible with boundaries, and so I would say all of the things and let them know that they're not alone and all those things. But then you come back for round 2 and you just want to do the same thing that we did last time. I'm like, okay, so what do we do now?
Yeah, like, what's gonna change?
And if they connected with me on something like hypomania, so like basically bipolar, if you have bipolar tendencies and we connect on that and you want to come to me with some shit, and I'm like, we got to be careful though, right? Because we're prone to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what the bond that you want, we got to have some options as to what we're going to do if these things happen. And I guess I'm curious, like, how long have you lived alone for?
So I have a roommate now.
Oh, you do?
I do. But I lived alone previous to like having a roommate. I lived alone for, I want to say it was like 3.5 years ish. It was rough, especially during COVID, like the start of COVID. Oh my gosh. And I worked in overnights at the time.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So I didn't see or talk to anyone, and I was like a vampire. So that was rough. But I'm like thankful I have a roommate, because they're my best friend. So we check in with each other.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's just, to bitch, but sometimes you just need like a vent session.
Yeah.
It's not like all the time, but
you need a sass hour.
Yeah, exactly. But they work opposite shifts than me, so it's kind of like I live alone during the week.
Oh, okay.
Right. So,
but that's nice. So, like on the weekends, you guys know that you're going to see each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I wish that they worked a different shift, but then realistically, I probably know that I would like get the fuck out of here. You're annoying me, like in the most loving way possible. I mean that in a loving way, but
Yeah,
you know, we all get annoyed with people. It's
Well,
normal.
It's hard to know when to stop being polite. Like, I mean, for me especially, but like the Minnesota goodbye.
Oh my gosh, it lasts forever.
It applies to friendships like way more because, especially if you live with somebody, it's like, should I be suggesting that we play a board game right now? Kind of hope that they need to do something else because I really want to just go watch Twilight again.
Yeah. Yeah, like not feeling the need to entertain each other and like have to do things together. You're totally okay to be alone, but then be home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
But back to the years where you were, like genuinely living alone.
Yeah.
When you're having these heavy conversations with patients, what was your like? How do you decompress? Or do you remember, like, did it seem harder when you were going through that shit by yourself versus having the roommate now?
It's different.
Okay.
I would say. I was in therapy then, so, I would talk about it if I needed to.
But how often do you get to see a therapist?
Once a week, usually.
Yeah.
But, the gym at that time was really big for me because, it's number one, it's healthy for you, but being that I didn't see the daylight and I didn't have much social interaction, it just made me feel good. But now it's different just because I'm in a more stressful position, I would say, and I don't work out anymore.
Well, that's good. So, like, I mean, with what you're going through currently, it might be better. Is like within the last 3 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you find that your coping mechanisms were not working?
Oh yeah, they faltered for sure. Because my main coping mechanism outside of like, obviously therapy and learning those types of things, but was the gym. But you can't go to the gym when you're not eating properly.
Oh.
So like that's my cope, right? I mean, and I was also in a
That's interesting. So was your career affecting your eating habits too? Interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, breaks and you can take a break whenever you want, right? But that's just not realistic. Because the workload is so much.
Exactly. I was just going to say, sure, I'll take a break, but then I have twice as much to do when I get back.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it was a win if I got to have a snack during the day. So it affected my eating habits and, I wanted to go to the gym, but you can't go to the gym if you have only had 500 calories today. I mean, you could, but it's frowned upon. It's frowned upon.
That's interesting. I don't know if this is fucked up or not, but I try to stay at like when I work at the tattoo shop, I try not to eat more than 500 calories.
What?
Yeah.
What do you have before you go in?
Nothing.
You don't eat?
Yeah.
What? I'd be interested to see, like, that doesn't count. That's like 5 calories.
It's true.
No, but like I would try to have like a 300 calorie like yogurt in the morning, and hopefully I could have like another one in the middle of the day, and then I would have a big meal, or like most of my calories would come in at night if I could. But I don't know. Do you ever get just sick of eating? Because I get sick of eating. Like, can't I just drink my food?
Yeah, I get like sick of the fact that all I want to eat are the shittiest things.
That's because, like, those are comforting. Like, those are, like, yeah, some Cold Stone. Get all your calories in one hit.
I've had a shitty day. I'm going to buy a king-size Caramello and watch Skinwalker Ranch.
I'm just saying, that's another coping skill. You eat your feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
But But yeah, it was impacting like my eating. Therefore, like my other coping skill I couldn't use, but it was like reinforcing the not eating coping skill.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I don't know. It just
Well,
but my other coping skills also failed because my mental health just tanked. Like I would say over the last 2 years.
2 years?
Well, that's around the time I entered the field officially.
Oh.
Yeah. As like case management.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just started to, it was like a slow decline, I would say, and then
Is it that the workload is different than what you thought it was going to be, or is it just mismanaged still to a point? Does that make sense?
like time management, you mean? Or
On the what's it called? The proprietor? No, your hiree.
oh, okay, yeah.
But in the sense that like I could get this stuff done, but I'm being asked to do these other things.
It could be maybe a little bit of both, but I would say
Okay.
just the workload.
The workload in general. Okay.
Yeah. It's just like the expectations are just ridiculously high.
Because you have to like physically document everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like documentation, admissions, all that kind of stuff. There's too many people that need help, and I don't have another one of me.
Yeah.
Also there's the turnover for mental health and LADCs in general is so high because burnout is so prevalent that we're losing people in the field at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
But what do you do with that? Like,
yeah. A friend of mine just told me that his aunt had been, or we were talking about mental health stuff, and I said I talked to this therapist, and he was like, "Oh, my aunt was a therapist," and I was like, "Oh, of course was," and he's like, "Yeah, she did it for 12 years," and I'm like, "Oh shit,
right?
that's pretty good." But like, you compare that to somebody who's worked for a tool company for 30 fucking years, and it's like, why is it so easy to do, or why is it so hard to stick it out in these fields? People don't focus on that enough.
Well, I feel like, so I've had this conversation or something similar to it where it's kind of like, you can try as hard as you want not to bring the work home with you, but it's going to be up here. And usually I'm pretty good at, not letting that affect me.
When you say not letting it affect you, though,
yeah,
it still has that space. It still has real estate in your mind.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to like obsess over it.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
I'm usually pretty good at it. I would say like the last like 6 to 8 months, not so good. But it's different if you're working like retail or like you said, a tool company or whatever it is. You don't have to bring that home with you mentally. You can clock out or whatever and just be like later, and it'll still be there when you get back in the morning.
Yeah.
Or whenever you go. But it's not quite like that when you work with people.
Yeah. The thing that I've been thinking about lately with mental health and addiction is most of the time you don't have just one person that's counting on you. You have like a family behind that's counting on you. You have, there's just so much like pressure on on one person. I mean, coworkers, it's like they all kind of get it, I think, where I don't think you get quite as much pressure, or it's a different kind of pressure.
Right.
But yeah, when you have a family or a mom looking you in the eyes and is like, "So, is it better now? Is it gonna get better?" And you're like, "I don't fucking know, man."
Well, I mean, I haven't had to deal with that, thankfully, but I've gotten the comment, well, you're the expert, which is basically saying like, well, it's your job to fix me, and it's not. It's I can be there for you, give you skills. Obviously we'll, set up some resourcing and that kind of thing. But it's not my job. Like, I think that I'm 20%, you're 80.
Ah.
I can give you this. And if you decide that you're not gonna use it or you're gonna just throw it in the trash, that's totally on you. At that rate, I'll do my best, but I'm not gonna work harder than you.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean,
that's another reason why I could never do what you guys do, is because my codependent nature is just like, I would invest in every fucking person that I meet way too much, and then I would just bury myself in the ground with the amount of failure. Because that's what it would feel like. If I see you again, fuck, what did I do wrong? Rather than it having to be that person does. I'm not driving you to work. I'm not doing these things. Like, you have to figure out how to do that shit on a basic level. Like,
yeah, I mean, that did happen actually.
You drove somebody to work?
No, yeah, all the time. Just kidding. No, where like they ended up coming back to a facility, and I'm just like, okay, so.
And you had to work with them again?
I didn't, but
okay.
Obviously, like, they were familiar with me, so they're gonna talk to me. But I would be like, so what happened? They would tell me, and I'd be like, well, what did you learn? Like, what are you gonna do different this time? Like, what didn't work? Because like I fucked up, I failed. It's like, I mean, in some aspect, okay, but what did you learn, and what are you gonna do different? Really, is what it is. I mean, you're alive, right? So that's something.
Yeah.
But I would say there's always a thought of like, could I have done something different? Or did I not notice X, Y, and Z?
Oh.
And like, that's not true either, I don't think.
Because how much time do you get with them? Like, how many people are they seeing in facilities that you work at?
I mean, it depends on the facility, but
because when I was in treatment, I bounced around. Let's see, like 5 counselors, therapist, and depending on the day, a psychologist.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like upwards of like 50 people. Not saying that they're everybody's got like their home person, right?
Oh, right.
But I mean, you're still seeing them, right? So not a lot of time, especially not one-on-one, because I'm not a therapist. So you don't pay me to like come into my office and chat for an hour.
You have an office?
I have an office.
Oh my God.
I know.
Killing it.
Oh, it's really bougie when I say,
But yeah, that's tough too, because you really do only have so much time, and then somebody else is gonna talk to them about a thing, and most of the time I saw people latch on and say, like, there was this counselor named Jason who was a former addict, and the phrasing is escaping me, but when you go from one addiction to the next addiction,
cross addiction,
there we go. So we had cross addictions when it came to pornography, and none of these guys wanted to talk to anybody but him. And it's like, he is like homeroom, but he also leaves that wing and goes and talks to people.
Right.
So he's not like just hours. We don't get all of his time. And
well,
then
exactly.
the documentation, dude, like mental health and addiction counseling, like the amount of paperwork, it's probably the only thing in like film and movie that like actually translates, is like this the fucking amount of, well, now it's like files, but still.
If I would have known that my job was paperwork, I mean, obviously that's not my only job, but you know, I got an hour with an individual, and then I have 3 hours of paperwork. Like,
Oh,
I was like, oh my gosh, that's something they didn't say in school. Like, it's true. Basically, once you graduate and you get your licensure, everything you learned in school, other than the ethics portion, goes out the window
mm-hmm.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like people bringing paperwork home or their laptop home.
It's just a norm.
Yeah.
It's a norm, which is unfortunate because, you know, you might be getting paid because people like to do salary because you can work as long as you need to, but you still get paid the same.
Oh, sure.
It's ideal for companies mostly, but which is whatever. It's, you know, it's also a business.
Yeah.
Again, I get that.
I get it. You have to go to Cabo twice a year.
I've never been out of the US, so.
Oh, I meant like the person who's paying you.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got you.
Yeah, I get it. The guy who owns Centricare, he needs a private plane. I get it.
I mean, you know, sometimes you just need those things to fulfill the void in your soul. I don't know.
I have like no remorse for people who own these facilities and like you barely ever see their face, and I don't know why we're like privy to how much money they make or like why that has to be reported on, but you hear about it all the time and it's like, what the fuck, man? There's people that are coming to you because their life is a total fucking wreck.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? You're letting all of these other people get burnt out, and then you're getting upset because we're not pulling in enough patients, and it's like they might be dying, dude. I don't fucking know. Like maybe that's why people aren't here, because we get burnt out. We don't have the resources to help them. But this is fucking.
Well, it's kind of like at one point, this is like, you know, obviously we all get into the helping field because we want to help people and see people succeed. But at what point do you say I'm out? Because like when you can't implement the things that you're teaching, like, you know, self-care and all these things, like these are what you should be doing, but I'm going to go over here and don't you worry and not use any of that because I don't have the energy. You know, you kind of feel like a little icky, like a little like a hypocrite almost, even though that's not how you want it to be. But I won't lie to you. I mean, that happened to me a little bit, not to the full effect. Like I'm still obviously going to therapy and trying to work on it, but when I don't have like the mental space for it, because I'm an EMDR, and you know when
You're doing EMDR?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like for me,
how's it going?
It goes really well when I have the mental energy to do it, because it's like it's hard.
Yeah. It's funny. I either hear it's one of two. It's never like it's going okay. It's always it works or it's a fucking nightmare.
So I'm gonna like put those together. They're both. They're beautiful, actually. No, I really love it. And like because the way I see it is I view these things when it happens like as a movie. Like I can see it, and you can feel it and all these things. But it definitely helps. My anxiety is not as bad as it used to be. But when you don't have like your job is too taxing, so you don't have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
Like I'll still go to therapy, but I won't necessarily do EMDR every time.
I talk about therapy a lot. I haven't been since I was 18.
Oh.
Which seems odd, but I've been trying to like find a way, because when you're talking about feeling icky, I definitely feel icky when I ask people like, oh, are you going to therapy? Are you doing this and that? And I don't do any of that shit. But what I do is this. And I'm constantly confronting my mental health, not as an excuse, but as like a tool to say, okay, so I have a diagnosis, right? So if I bought VIP tickets because I thought it would be funny to buy the most expensive tickets to like this low level gaming convention that is happening in Minnesota for Landon and I to go to. It's just hilarious to me to spend $300. And Kim is like, what the fuck? You just spent $300 not talking to me because you thought it would be funny? I'm like, why did I do that? Oh, my massive ADHD makes me prone to like funny ideas. I go, oh, yeah, it'd be hilarious if we drove to Alabama right now. Like, if something hits me in the right way and I shouldn't be doing it, I'm still very susceptible to doing that thing because of ADHD. So it's not that I go, oh, I did it because of, I fucking ADHD. What are you going to do? I go, why? Okay. So I have to look out for moments of spending a lot of money or going on a trip or these things because I'm prone to it. So even though I don't go to therapy, I'm constantly like analyzing my actions and using my diagnoses as like tools to try to work through it so that I don't do a thing again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're one of those,
caused you to like want, yeah.
So if you're one of those people who's like, therapy's not for me, fine. You can manage without it, but then you have to do the work. You like people will complain about like, I don't have time in my day to go, for an hour or two to do this thing. And it's like, fine. You definitely have time when you're taking a shit and playing Angry Birds on your phone. Like, read something or listen to a podcast that talks about, mental health or do something. Don't just say, I don't have time. So therefore,
right.
I'm just free balling.
I mean, I love my therapist. Like, I don't know, like, how I would have dealt with some things. 'Cause I've been in therapy for like a long time, but she is a better resource or tool in terms of like seeing things objectively. She's not somebody that's in my life. She's there for that hour once a week. And her main concern is me.
Wow.
Right?
That's a great way of looking at it.
But she'll, obviously she would call me on my shit if like she'd be like, you fucked up. Like, she would, but it's nice that we're as friends, they're like in your corner, even if they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's easy because you just don't want your friend to feel bad. Whereas the therapist knows, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I am going to point out the thing, and then we can work through it. So, like, a friend is, if they point out the thing, they feel like that mean I'm not saying you're a bad person.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I just maybe stop siphoning gas from school buses because kids need to get to school. But if you need to keep doing it, I understand.
Yeah, like they're not as like direct and to the point and pointing out like inconsistencies and behavior patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Has these last, 2-3 years, has it affected, like, do you think long term you'll still be in addiction and working with folks like that?
It's interesting that you say that. Just because like I've definitely thought about going back to school and switching it up entirely. Just because like, is it worth it? And I'd like to say yes. And it's not, I don't think it's me. It's not that like I can't do it because I most certainly can, but at what risk?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want to have a life and I want to be like mentally stable. And it's like at what risk? So I'm going to give it more time. And, if it doesn't turn out that it's for me and I'm not willing to sacrifice my entire life, which, I mean, people are, like I feel mixed views about that just because it's like, well, number one, you shouldn't have to, but number two, it's not, I'm not saying that these people don't need help, but so do I.
Yeah.
Realistically, the system's broken. It's broken. God. So it's not me. But, you know, I'm gonna give it some more time, and if it turns out that, you know what, like, my soul hurts and I can't do it, that's okay. Um, it's a learning experience just like everything else. What I would do after this, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You know, that was never an option. That was never like well, what's your backup?
Oh, sure.
You know, my backup, this was my backup. I was gonna be an actress, man. Like, that's what I was gonna do, you know, back in.
You could still do it.
Well, you know what I mean, though? That's
Yeah.
like well, what's your backup? Like, what's your realistic goal?
That's an issue with America, right? Well, I mean, for a long time, is perpetuating follow your dreams. Whatever you're passionate about, just stick with it, and God willing, it'll take care of itself. And nobody talks about the backup. It's like, for some reason, we think that if you have a backup, that means you're admitting that you might fail at this other thing.
Right.
And somebody was just saying it was whatever you did. So like this couple just broke up and they were together for 10 years and then they failed. And so the 10 years was, in their mind, a failure. And this lady was like, no. You were successful for 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you go into another thing, you were successful at that thing for however long. And now it just so happens you're going to do something else and you go and be successful at that. So like this, yeah, it's such a clusterfuck, our society, because follow your dreams, but if you fail, a fallen star.
Isn't that so sad?
It's so fucked up.
Not to mention, like, oh, the havoc, it's just like on your mind.
Yeah.
It's like, I failed.
Yeah, it's not bad enough that I feel like I failed at this thing, but you're going to be like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
And you can kind of hear that tone of like,
yeah, not everyone can be a winner.
Like, oh God, I didn't realize I failed that bad.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of like, it's not even that. It's just, yeah. I mean, I was like, well, I could go to school for business, I guess. Like, I have no idea. I literally have no idea what I'd go to school for.
I mean, it seems like environment is a pretty big like aspect of, I mean, in any job for sure. But when it comes to mental health, it's tough to find an environment that all around 360 has your back.
Well, right. And that's the thing is like people stay for the environment and the way you make them feel, not money.
Yeah.
I mean, money helps, let's be honest. But
yeah, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Like the main thing is that we want, if I'm going to spend 8 hours here, right? More time here than I am at home, then the environment better be pretty fucking good.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I do not make that much money at the tattoo shop, but I've never been happier because the people that I work with give a shit about what they're doing. Like, it seems like it's this, like, a group of ruffians or whatever. Like, I mean, like, the stereotype for people with neck tattoos.
I guess. I don't know. Who are you talking to? Because,
well, a lot of older people.
Well, older people, like, that's different. Like,
but that's the thing is, like, I'm in a age bracket where there are people in their 40s who know what I'm doing, and they're like, "You're 30. You're just now working at a tattoo shop? What's going on? Did you have a midlife crisis?"
Oh my gosh! Can I just say, like, you can tell them to shove it because, like, there is no timeline on what your life is gonna look like just because somebody got married and then they had kids and they have the white picket fence. That sounds awful, in my opinion. But that's what they want. Like, there's no timeline. Like, I mean, hell, people will move in, then date, then have kids, and then maybe get married.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's
Yes.
like, mind your business.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. My parents went back to school in their 50s.
Yeah.
Like, if you're alive and kicking, do whatever the fuck you want. Like, yes, 1000%, dude. So what I'm saying is, like, I think that whatever career you do, it's the the feeling of we're in this together rather than everyone running with their head cut off.
Yeah.
Like that's so huge in whatever you do, but especially if you're helping others, you've got to feel that support behind you.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is just, finding that support. I would say for an environment where I also had left a job where I made more money and I took like a $3 pay cut or something.
Mm.
I think it was $3. It was I can just say
$300 maybe?
or it's $3 an hour. Like $3 an hour pay cut. So I went from like what was it, like 16 to like 13.
Oh, okay.
Which I was a poor college student, so like that was a big deal. That was a big deal. The environment was great though. Like I loved working there, and it was, I don't particularly love retail, but I loved the people that I was working with.
That just reminded me. Sorry, I had to blow out my douche cloud. But there's this guy that I worked with at that cell phone place. He worked there when I first got there and was just a shark, like hardcore fucking salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just take that sale for me? Like very aggressive. He left and then 3 months later came back and was wearing like jeans and a hat.
To work?
Yeah. And I was like,
wow.
Fuck yeah, dude. And our boss didn't care. And I was like, why did you? It's because he said he like talked up some shit about the next place he was going to. Oh, I'm going to be making thousands more. Fuck you guys. And then when he came back, he was like, I realized that being able to wear a hat to work was worth $10,000 a year. And I was like, holy shit. You actually can put a price on comfort. Like,
yeah.
It hit me and is stuck with me. I was 19 when he told me that. And fuck, dude, it made so much sense. Like at the tattoo shop, I can say whatever the fuck I want at any given point. Like we can make any kind of jokes we want. We can wear whatever we want. Like that is so huge. Every job I've ever had, every single one, I would like fight falling asleep. And that's because ADHD, I need stimulation.
Yeah.
Never happens when I'm at the tattoo shop. Even when there's nothing going on, I'm just so fucking psyched that I'm there that I don't care.
Well, that's the kind of job you want. I mean, you spend most of your life either asleep or at work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth it. It really is. Like I want to be at a place that like you feel like you, right? The best version of you, not the false putting out. You know what I'm trying to say? Like fake, like Barbie. Like I'm gonna use Barbie.
The presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're in a formal corporate environment, you have to present yourself versus just it's me. I'm here. And we're gonna work through this thing.
Right.
I was gonna say that before, like when people stick it out in those careers, it can change your personality. It can chip away enough to where like I laugh when I see crying kids in stores because it's a shared experience thing. So like I go, oh, I know what that's like.
Oh, for me, I'm just like, oh, that's some birth control right there. Like,
but so in that sense, like certain things can chip away at you where now when I hear that kid cry, I'm like, what the fuck? Get your kid under control. And I'm like agitated that this person isn't doing their job in the normal world. And I've seen that before where like people just can't handle now real life. It feels like you have to manage differently. And it's sad to see that.
I mean, yeah, like that's just kind of like how it is. You present this way and this is your tasks and we want you to be a robot even though you work with people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was never good at it. So don't take advice from me, guys. Like, I'm not good at it. So
you're very easygoing though.
Well, I know, but like, I mean, I'm not going to be, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, that's a long way from now, but I'm not going to be like the head of a corporation, you know what I mean? But if I was, it'd be bomb.
Yeah.
But I'm not like the shining star example of what you think of when you think of like corporate America.
Okay, I was gonna say, are you thinking like the corporate environment? Like,
Yeah,
I
and
got
it's
you.
kind of like that's just not me. I mean, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm not gonna be. I'm wearing this suit, let's say, like business suit. That's not me. You know what I love? I love me some comfy pants.
Comfy
And a
pants.
sweatshirt is bomb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, when I started in the field, I would say like that's kind of how I viewed like how I was supposed to be. And eventually I just stopped giving a fuck, essentially. I was just like, you know what? I like relate better to people when I wear, and within reason, of course, like what I want and present in a way that I like.
Yeah.
Because nobody else has got to be in here. Me,
Yeah.
I got to be in here. So like if I'm not happy with like how things are going at work and how I'm supposed to present, I mean, I don't know why. And it's not and everybody deals with this, I think. It's just can we just like drop that? Can we just drop like this is what you're supposed to be?
It affects the way that people view your intentions.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to say this on the last episode that you guys will see, because these are all garbled up. But my throat was all dry, and I was trying to tell the story about this guy named Dr. Meany, who was at Centricare when I was on the adult mental health unit the first time.
I know this.
You know the story?
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody else is dressed fairly accordingly, but this guy would show up in a 3-piece suit, like fancy shoes.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's somebody who thinks that there is a bat in her sock right now. Like, what are you doing? You're fucking this up. Like, you see somebody like that and you know what you look like. Like, we're all in uniform, basically, on the resident side of things. And then someone like that walks in, you go, oh, fuck. Is he like a big wig or what?
Right.
And then you learn that that's the fucking guy that you're supposed to go talk to. That's the psychiatrist that we have to go talk to. Fuck me. And his name is Dr. Meany. Change your that last fucking name, dude. So I go and I'm talking to him and I'm like, my codependency brain is like, we're addressing this fucking outfit at some point.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking to me. I'm talking about tried to commit suicide because back problems. It's never going to get better. Yada, yada, yada. And he's like, oh, really? I just push on the desk here and it decompresses my, and I'm like, I've seen 10 doctors, guy. You fucking think that, okay. So
I'm sure my face said it all, but
rough start. And then, his advice is just not the greatest. And at the end, he's like, so, what do you think about your stay so far? Or something to those effects. And I was like, it's been fine. Why do you wear that suit? And he was like, oh, you noticed the, like, yeah, dude, I fucking noticed. And he's like, well, I read in like this business magazine that you need to make sure that there's a clear divide so that people know what your position is.
Are you serious?
And I was like, but in this environment, don't you think that like people feeling comfortable is like really important? And when we see you, people are kind of on edge because of how you're dressed. And he was like, well, I want them to know that we're different.
Excuse me?
I was like,
that's like the exact opposite of what I say. Like, I'm just like a human that has problems that's trying to help another human that has problems.
Yeah.
Like, that's all.
And if you're dressed the way that you like, odds are someone's going to go, oh, I love your outfit. Like at some point during the day, someone recognizes your outfit not as like a hierarchy kind of thing where they have to figure out what the fuck you do to be dressing like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dressed like somebody that they would run into, then they're more prone to be like, look at you. You look great today.
Well, actually, so they make like these really awesome like dressy pants for women now. But they feel like sweatpants. Yes. They're like, they're they're kind of like this actually, but like.
Are those like almost gaucho?
What?
Do you remember gauchos?
What are those?
They were like the fabric of your shirt as pants, but kind of baggy like that.
Oh, Oh, I remember seeing them, like people wearing them. I thought they looked really like comfortable and whatever, but I didn't have them.
Your boy
Didn't have them.
wore them a couple times, and I was
Did
like,
you?
"This is fucking sick."
See, these are meant to be pajamas.
Really?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I have another pair of like dress pants that are actually pajamas, but I wear a top that makes it look like otherwise. But people would be like, "Oh my gosh, I really like your outfit." I was like, "Thanks, it's got pockets." So like, it's just like, just get really excited about the small stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. No one is giving compliments to Dr. Meanie because
He's mean.
they're intimidating.
Just kidding.
Plus, his name is Meanie. But if somebody just saw him walking by on the unit, no one's going to be like, "Oh, look at you. You look great." They're going to be like, "Who the fuck are you?" So that's where like it lets down that wall, and they're going to open up at least enough to be like, I think this person is, there's a level, they're at a level of comfort with themselves to where I can be comfortable talking to them.
And that's so true because I had a therapist, like my first one, and when I met her, I was like, "What is she wearing?" She had like full dress clothes on and whatever, and I was just like, "I don't like her. I don't like this." She had turned out to be really nice, and I did really like her. And then unfortunately, I was very upset when I had to go to my now therapist, which I love her dearly. I do. However, my therapist, we had this conversation. She's like, I was fully like, "I thought you hated me." I was like, "Oh, I did. Yeah, it's true. I didn't like you. I did not like you at all. Our personalities collided, and I thought I knew what was best. And my whole therapist had a process, and you didn't go with that process. You had your own process, and I didn't like it. And I was always like, just keep going. It'll get better. Maybe you'll like her today." And she told me, she's like, "I was always hoping that like maybe you wouldn't show up." I was like, "That's what's up. That's what's up. That's real." But now it's great. And obviously, it was just, I don't know. It was a process.
It's funny, those moments too, like, are a bonding moment. That's hilarious. I love shit like that. That would happen to me at weddings all the time. Like, I'd start talking to somebody and be like, I thought you were gonna be an asshole for sure. Like,
yeah,
you're rad.
We bonded on like animals first, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, you might be okay."
She cat person or dog person?
She's a dog person.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously I'm a cat person, which is fine. But we have like similar names for our oldest animals.
Yeah.
So we were just like, we bonded on that, and it got a little better each time. But yeah. But I've worked with people that were definitely like, "Well, you're, up here and you have no problems." I was like, "Who says?" I was like, "Have you talked to my therapist lately?" Like, I mean, and it kind of like breaks the barrier of like, I'm not all the way up here. I mean, there's boundaries, of course.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm not your friend. But
yeah,
I mean,
see,
I'm a human.
Yeah, those distinctions are important for sure. And I think that this guy just thought that the only way to make sure that these people don't try to become friends with me is if I dress like I fucking own the place.
Yeah, but realistically, in that situation, I mean, I've never been in that particular situation.
Have you visited? Like, did you do any adult mental health unit?
I have had to visit. I was a friend.
Okay.
There, but yeah, I know what they wear. But even if you're in like an outpatient mental health program, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Like,
could you pull the mic a little closer?
Sorry.
I know
I'm
these
really
chairs
bad.
bounce.
I'm really bad about that.
That's why I'm constantly grabbing it, is because I move so much. So I just like, come with me.
Okay, my bad.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh, train of thought.
The dress codes. Visiting a friend and outpatient.
Oh, it just makes you feel like inferior anyway, just because you have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember saying like, "Hey, I'm here because of X, Y, and Z," and yep, can you fix me? That'd be cool. Like, so I mean, when people say that to me, I'm like, no, I can assist you but it's just like you feel inferior already.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're broken.
Yes. Oh, perfect.
Well, that's not true. We're all broken.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I heard that all the time. Like, when somebody says I'm here to get fixed, they're either there for a vasectomy or they feel like they're broken. And yeah, but it's that unspoken thing of like, what we're really saying is, yeah, we're broken and we need somebody to fix this for sure.
Right.
I got to the point to where like, I can't remember. I connected with that because I think I said like I'm broken, and I spent 8 days on the unit because I was like, this is where I belong. Like I thought that I was broken to a point to where I was like, oh, I can't function out in the real world. I belong in here with these other people. And actually I'm doing good in here. Like people are coming to me for advice and I'm doing great. Like no one's gonna like question me because we all look the same. And yeah, I just got to a point where I was so broken that I thought that I had to be on that unit.
Well, I feel like if you're in that unit, like no one's better than each other. You guys are there together.
Yeah.
You just have different problems. That's all. Which if we take away, class and status, I feel like that's true within like the entire world.
Yeah.
We just don't show it.
Man, the going into rehab was the best depiction of that. The first person I met that was a fellow addict was a millionaire.
What?
And
really?
He paid out of pocket for his stay, which was like over 40 grand. And I just blew me away. Totally different worlds, but connected on almost everything because we had dropped all that shit. There's probably something that they want to eat outside. Okay, so to wrap this up, I usually ask people what advice they have for listeners. I guess on the side of, I'm trying to think of where I want to go with your question. Let me think about this for a second.
Okay, no, it's okay. I know that like normally we have like a game plan and it just kind of like
yeah, we were all over the place.
All over the place. What we thought we were going to talk about didn't happen really, and that's okay.
That's fine. Because I think with the concept of people who help those in, because I think addiction falls under that like mental health care.
Yeah, I think so too.
People don't think about like the care that you need. So like, what is it that you do, or what things did you put in place to try to protect yourself? Like with, the boundaries is an obvious one, but for your mental state.
Leaving things that didn't make me happy.
What do you mean?
Like things that didn't like serve me anymore. Like if let's say like there's a friend, okay.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had those friendships I think that are really high maintenance.
Mm.
And it's kind of like I don't have like I'm using this as an example. I don't have the energy to like continually kind of fill their cup and like go back and forth all the time. The friendships that are like a little less maintenance, right? Which sounds awful, but it's real. I talk to people all day and I can't have time for you and your problems as well as like working on myself. Like you go see a therapist for that. That's like probably the biggest thing is just like failure isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you learn something from it, which is important. And like when things don't go our way, we kind of think, well, I failed at that. And I don't think that's true. I think that just didn't work for you, and that's all right. So getting rid of those things that don't serve you.
Okay.
Whether it's like, people, things that stress you out that you don't need to be stressed out about, the job, like corporate life, whatever it is, if it doesn't serve you and it doesn't actually make you happy, because no offense, guys, but we all end up at the same place. So you only have like what, 80 years if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, just getting rid of things that don't serve you anymore, that don't make you happy, because it's just going to eat away at your soul and you're not going to be the best version of you. And I think that learning that is important. And I'm still learning every day.
I was going to say, so what are the things that you do to try and remind yourself that you're not, trapped in you're not beholden to any relationship or any job? Like, what?
I mean, sometimes we definitely do feel trapped, but it's kind of like I go through like these phases where I'll be like, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z, and realistically, they are their excuses. There's other ways you can work around those, whether it's like money. You can always like, well, maybe you can donate plasma, like to make up for whatever it is, and just like safeguards, like checking in with myself. Sometimes we're all so busy and I gotta go do this, and this, and I gotta go bring the kids to wherever that we focus outward and not inward enough, I don't think. Just like doing like little checks. How you doing? How you sleeping? Yeah. Like with yourself. Like we check in with others, but I don't feel like we check in with ourselves.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, how are you doing? Like I think writing helps a lot with that. Just to like, have you ever done the exercise where you write for, I think it's 10 minutes straight and you don't like, you just write. You just keep going. I forget what the exercise is called, but it's like you do it for like 10 or 15 minutes and you just write whatever comes to mind and it's unfiltered.
Freestyle.
Like, yeah, like you're not you're not allowed to like think of like, oh, how do I want to word this? No, it just comes out. You just throw that shit on the paper, like, and see what comes of it. And eventually, because I've done that before, and I'll do it for a few months and then look back and see what I wrote, and you can kind of see like attitudes and moods change, which I think is really interesting. So I think just like checking in and doing things that are good for you is important. I mean, mine would be therapy, obviously. I have cats. That's that's comfort. It's like, a creature that like needs me, loves me, and it's vice versa. But
it gives you purpose too.
Yeah, like those are my children. I don't have humans, but I talk about them like they're human, and people usually think that, oh, you have kids. Yeah. Well, they meow. It's a whole thing. And then like, so that therapy, working out, I'd like to like do that again, but I gotta make sure my eating I can't be burning calories that I don't have, which is important. So I think that in itself is healthy. Just being like mindful that, you can't do that. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. That's huge.
Coloring. I like to color.
Really?
Yes, I love to color. It's so like relaxing.
Do you get like adult coloring books and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll buy like the children's Christmas books because I think they're cute.
Oh,
I think I had a Disney princess one like a while back.
Dude, there's one that's full of curse words.
I've seen those.
Oh,
yeah. No, one of my patients like I've had a couple color one for me, and it said like don't give a fuck, I think is one, and I was just like, thank you. Love it. I don't know if that's a hard question because it's gonna look different for everybody, but
I always ask like, or I try to ask on a personal level because everyone's stuff is different. It offers up a new thing for somebody else. Like that writing thing, I've never heard that before. Such a cool one and something that people can try. So, I mean, I've had 40 guests on this show.
Yeah.
And there's some continuity with what they do for coping and things like that. But there's always one little thing that they do different that I'm like, I've never thought about that. So listeners, if you go back and shuffle through, or I guess go to the end where I ask them to give advice.
Yeah.
Then you'll find that there's loads of different answers, loads of different coping mechanisms and things that you can do. So, yeah.
Random, do you meditate?
It's evolved meditation.
Okay, I can't meditate. Like, I guess I haven't. I could probably maybe someday when I'm wiser. But if you color, it actually puts you into a meditative state. 'Cause
Because of flow.
yeah, you're focused, and I mean, if you do it, do you color? Not
Mm.
really. Okay.
I draw. So like I'll use Procreate and doodle shit and color. Yeah, I guess I do. Yeah.
I mean, as for that, it puts you in like a meditative state, so you're super focused on this one thing, and usually I'm not thinking about anything else. There's a study. There's a study on it. I'll try to find it and I'll send it to you.
Oh,
But
awesome.
I did a group on it. And I just found that really interesting because I've tried to meditate like a normal human, and I don't know about you, but all I'm ever thinking about is like, oh, 3 seconds goes by and I'm not thinking of anything, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I wonder what I'm having for dinner. Like,
Yeah.
I can't stop them. They just keep going.
So I went to the same Buddhist. Okay, it's weird and out out east. They're not temples and they're not churches. They're just like, I forget what they call them, but like I don't know what else to call it. A Buddhist temple, but it's just a guy's elaborate house.
Okay.
It's the same one that Richard Gere goes to apparently. And I had a connection with somebody who was like, I go, if you want to try it out. And I was asked to leave at one point because I couldn't stop moving because I was so uncomfortable. They were like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, take you into another room. I was like, shit. Now I know it's like ADHD. That's why I couldn't fucking focus. Because I was like, who the fuck is here? I wonder what Richard does when he's here because we're on a first name basis now. But like, okay, so the only thing that I can think of that is kind of meditative is when I listen to ASMR.
Oh.
I don't do anything. I plug them in, I lay down, and I just like let the sounds hit me.
Okay.
So really like close to traditional meditation. That's as close as I get.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah. Have you seen the movie Soul? That Pixar movie?
No, I haven't.
You should check it out because they talk about flow and how that can put you into a like transcendental like state.
Yeah.
Because okay. We were taking photos before.
Yeah.
And you were hitting poses. I'm assuming without thinking, you would hear the shutter go, and then you would switch your pose. You would hear the shutter go.
I mean, I guess I don't remember hearing it, but
I could tell. You would switch. So that's your flow state is like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know.
Okay.
So like when you know for sure like what you're doing, coloring is a perfect example. And it makes sense why it works that way because your brain just goes, I know there's lines. I know exactly where to go. And there's going to be an immediate outcome from this thing that I'm doing. So yeah, that flow state, I think that's meditative. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's meditation for those who can't hold still.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, I can't hold still. I'd probably be wondering in that same spot where they'd be like, yeah, we're gonna ask you to go over here now. So I'd be like, I wonder, like, like if I'm doing this right. Like,
They put me in that other room. I just fell asleep.
Yeah! I would be like, this is a good place for a nap.
Thank you again for doing this, for sweating out in the heat and all that fun stuff. But
no, I always have a lot of fun. So
yeah,
thank you.
I love talking with you. It's always a hoot, as they say. And to the listeners, be well to yourselves.